A motion to table item F5 until further notice. Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Honorable Rob Fishbone.
Aye.
Honorable Dustin Mitchell.
Aye.
Honorable Andrew Hawthorne.
Aye.
Honorable Todd Squire.
Aye.
Carries. Move on to item 7. Discussion action, change order increase, streets, Texan waste equipment for $239,414 for DFA advisement of loan purchase. Who's going to present that?
I'll present that.
Okay, yes, sir.
Filling in today. Mayor Pro Tem, members of the commission, back in April, we came before you to have authorization to go out and purchase a new street sweeper. We anticipated that sweeper showing up in May, but unfortunately we missed the one they had in stock. So they had to kind of bring another one in. So we're still waiting for it to show up. The original intent of the program that we put together was that we cured a loan for $200,000 from the New Mexico Finance Authority. And then we were going to pay $39,000 from our streets department. So we're putting effectively $40,000 down. Our loan advisor at the time that we finished the loan had indicated that we should pay for our portion, and then the vendor would then receive his funding from the lending company. They would make an application. We would send in documents, and then they would receive that. In working with our new police department loan, our new loan officer has indicated their preference now would be that we just pay for the street sweeper, and then we apply directly and get our $200,000 back. So what you're looking for here is just a change order to allow us to add the $200,000 instead of $39,000, add the $200,000, so it makes our purchase order the full amount, $239,414. We'll procure the street sweeper, and then the loan is already sitting ready for us. Matter of fact, it's kind of an interesting situation. Our loan is about 0.5% interest on it, but we're earning 4% interest on the money sitting in the account. So we now have about $2,000 that we've earned since May, since the loan's been available. So our actual output won't even be the $39,000. We'll have that extra credit in money we've earned. So we're earning more money than we're paying, if you can imagine that. It's interesting to me, but
How long can we wait for a street sweeper?
we're gonna, right? Wait long enough to get the whole down payment. But again, that's the only change. The procurement's the same, the contract's the same. We're not asking for anything different. We're just a different process to pay for it. And we were originally requested to do so.
And we have the cash on hand.
We have the cash. We have enough cash in the streets department to cover it. We have about 1.6 million in the streets department. So, and we'll be out the $200,000 for less than a week because it's ready. It's sitting there. We just have to request the funds and it'll come right back.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Any questions, concerns?
Well, we're gonna do this as A and B, or we're gonna do it together for the change order.
We're going to do A first, and then we'll go B second.
I think B is a separate change order, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the change order increase for streets to Texas Waste Department equipment, Texas Waste Equipment, in the amount of $239,414 under HGAC by.
I think change order was 200, though, right?
200,000.
39. So I think it's like 200.
Or changing it from 39,000.
No. Mayor, members of the commission, the total purchase order will now be $239,400, but the change order amount is only adding $200,000 to it.
Got it?
I got it. I'm second that.
Honorable Dustin Mitchell.
Aye.
Honorable Andrew Hawthorne.
Aye.
Honorable Todd Squire.
Aye.
Honorable Rob Fishbone.
Aye. Carries. Okay, now let's move on to item 7B. WISB 2 from $33,492 to $459,996 for construction services.
Mayor Pro Tem, members of the commission, really excited to bring this to you. I think at the last meeting, we let you know that the WISB 2 USDA loan was released from USDA for us to go to bid. We have two projects, WISB 2 and then critical water. We've been holding up critical water to get WISB 2. We need WISB 2 to happen and then critical water. Both of those are in the Metal Street area. So we're really excited we can go to bid. As you remember, through the USDA projects, the city receives what I'm going to call an interim or a bridge style amount of a loan that you procured through a local. It's a small amount, which would allow you to get started with the planning. And then once the project is done and it's ready to go to bid, now we need to expand the amount of the contract. Back in 2023, 24, the city granted a contract to Wilson and Company on this water project for $1.4 million for design and construction management. However, you only had enough money to give the procurement and the purchase order for $1,065,000, which covered the design. So now that we have the permission to go to bid, we need to now do a change order, which would give Wilson the full contract amount and allow them now to prepare for bid and then manage the project, which is what they're doing on the other items. And so your recommendation today is that you approve a change order in the amount of $459,996.25. That will bring the contract in line at $1.408,055 plus applicable gross receipt tax. So your contract is in order. You're just changing the purchase order to allow that next part of the requisition.
Questions, concerns? May I have a motion?
I move to approve the WISB 2 change order increase in construction services to $459,996.25.
Second.
Honorable Destiny Mitchell.
Aye.
Honorable Inga Hopper.
Aye.
Honorable Charles Burns.
Aye.
Honorable Rob Heschel.
Aye. Motion carries. So the next 4 items have to do with the Planning and Zoning Commission. Just a quick note, we're so lucky to have people that want to reapply, and I really appreciate that they're pretty thorough in their questioning. They hear concerns of our citizens. They do a nice job for us. And I appreciate them wanting to continue to serve our. I do have one question. Why are they all coming up at the same time?
It's because when we had somebody resign, it kind of threw everything off. So I think if we do get a new person, we can maybe start it for like a year and then, so we can get them staggered again.
Hope these folks are with us for a while, but we hate to lose them all at the same time and then they all decide to give up on us. Then we could really be in trouble. So we need to figure out a way to stagger these positions when we can.
I will work on that, to get that done before we get a new person.
Thank you. All right, so let's go on to item F8, discussion action, reappointment of Chris Sisney to serve a 2-year term on the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Sisney is a current member on our Planning and Zoning Advisory Board. His commission expired in July. He wanted to continue to serve on the board, so he submitted his application. The application was brought to the board and they unanimously voted to reappoint Mr. Sisney for a 2-year term. And I recommend the appointment of Mr. Sisney.
Thank you.
Can I just say a quick note on these city board applications? From my point of view, if I don't know who Chris Sisney is, I have no idea who he is, and I'm appointing him based on current member, I wish to renew my term. That doesn't, and I know, and I read his minutes because I do know who he is. I see that he's doing good work. I just don't think that's enough information for me to vote on something going forward. So I don't know if we need to change my qualifications list to be more encompassing, because I'd see that current member repeatedly.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to have people even signing up for the boards. I wish all of our boards were full. I'm not trying to make it difficult.
No, point well taken. One way that we could do that, there has to be an original application.
There is.
And if there is, perhaps when we have situations like this, we can include the original application to give us the background that we need to make an informed decision. And that's, well, I think if historically it's easy to find, and perhaps we can do that for the future. I think that would solve some of our problems.
But even like Molly Hammers, she's got at least some of her qualifications.
Yeah.
She wrote a paragraph, so.
And I think that would be problematic if we didn't know who the board was. and if we didn't appreciate their service. So I guess we'll leave it up to you if you think it's disqualifying or not.
Fine,
Okay.
right now, let's
Right
go
now, but-
forward.
Yeah, but moving forward, I think I hear what you say, and it can even be done by the person that's reapplying. Is just go back to your archives and find the original documents and resubmit them. That might be pretty easy to do that, and perhaps you can pass that on. Because not every commissioner is familiar with everybody, so that would make a step. Right?
I remember way back what we used to do. We used to actually, when we had the reappointments, we used to require the members to actually show up, and I'm not saying you need to do that, but I'm saying we used to do that a long time ago. We used to have them show up, and that way if you had any questions, they'd be available. It's in your discretion how you want to proceed.
Yeah, well, I think we happen to know who they are, so I would
Yeah.
hope that we would support their request to be reappointed. So with that, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve, Chris Sneed is reappointed to the planning and zoning.
I second.
Okay, thank you.
Honorable Inga Hopner.
Aye.
Honorable Charles Goins.
Aye.
Honorable Ron Westler.
Aye.
Honorable Dustin Mitchell.
Aye.
Carries. Discussion action reappointment of Esther Lucchini for a 2-year term.
So to save a little bit of time, Esther Lucchini, Susan Bueller, and Molly Hammer are also current members of our planning and zoning board. All of their terms also expired in July, and they all put in their applications to be reappointed to this board, and all of their applications were unanimously recommended for a 2-year term.
May I have a motion to approve Ms. Lucchini?
That we wanted all of them.
I can't do them all at once.
Separately.
Oh, you have to do second.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find a motion to, sorry, to reapprove Esther Lucchini for a 2-year term on the planning and zoning.
Second that.
Honorable Charles Goins.
Aye.
Honorable Ron Westler. Honorable Dustin Mitchell.
Aye.
Honorable Inga Hopner.
Motion carries. May I have a motion to reappoint Susan Bueller to serve as a 2-year term?
I will make a motion to reappoint Susan Bueller to a 2-year term on the planning and zoning commission.
I second.
Honorable Charles Goins.
Aye.
Honorable Inga Hopner.
Aye.
Honorable Ron Westler.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. And finally, may I have a motion to reappoint Molly Hammer to a 2-year term in the planning and zoning commission?
I make the motion to reappoint Molly Hammer to serve a 2-year term on planning and zoning.
I'll second that motion.
Honorable Ron Westler. Honorable Dustin Mitchell.
Aye.
Honorable Inga Hopner.
Aye.
Honorable Charles Goins.
Aye.
Carried. Great. Thank you. Ladies. Move on to item G, ordinances, resolutions and zoning. Item 1, discussion action, resolution number 15.
This item,
Yes, I came right past that, didn't I? Discussion action, approval of purchase requisitions over 60,000. Including Bohannon Houston for 75,000 on on-call engineering services, NMA grant planning. Who's going to present that? Mr. Whitehead?
Mayor Pro Tem, members of the commission, I think we're going to kind of partner up on this one a little bit. If you have some particular questions, Assistant Manager Alvarez can participate, but in front of your packet, we applied for a planning grant from the New Mexico Finance Authority. They now have planning grants, and they have to be specific for a particular project. Our affluent water system has not been reviewed in some time, and Assistant Manager Alvarez brought that to my attention and suggested that we apply to the Finance Authority for some funding to go ahead and do a preliminary study. As you know, our water we do have an affluent water process system. We fill a pond at the ball fields. We water some of the ball fields with it, and then we move the water to the golf course and we water there. And so the plan here would be that our preliminary engineering report would allow us to assess the current system. It's over 20 years old, and determine what areas that we need to be focused on for potentially repairs. As you know, last month we had some citizen concern about us watering the golf course in the day. Well, part of the reason we have to water it in the day is because the pump system that would keep it charged is not functioning. So that would be something that would come through this study to tell us what we need to do to repair that, so that potentially we could get the electronic system fully back online and water in the evenings, which effectively we know is more efficient. So that's the plan for the PER. In this particular case, we've decided to use our on-call contract, which we have, city is an active contract. We have selected Bohannon Houston. We have kind of focused with Bohannon Houston on our wastewater collection system. They're doing the planning and design for the wastewater plant right now. We're going to allow them to do the Clancy lifts, the line extension. And then this, again, trying to separate what our engineers do, right? Wilson kind of handling the water side of the house, Bohannon doing the wastewater. And then we're looking for the right engineering firm to do our streets and other items. The proposal would be, the presentation from Bohannon would be for $98,900 plus gross receipt tax. Unfortunately, in the procurement that you're seeing today, our chief procurement officer only applied for the grant portion, 75. So we would ask that in your motion, you amend the procurement to be for $98,900. If you look at the, excuse me, I'm sorry, information from the procurement officer, had a little typo in the beginning and kept the A4 storm street sweeper on as the header. That really needs to say affluent water PER. And then the amount would be for $98,900. And we are not using HGAC bid program. We are using our city's cooperative agreement. Everything is in order. The requisition is in order, and we would stand for questions and would request approval of the procurement.
So the 75,000 is the grant and the remainder is the match.
That is correct. That's 23,900, and that will come out of our wastewater funding. We have enough capital cash there to do the match.
The total purchase requisition amount being 98,000.
Right.
The base cost 98,900. The total procurement, Commissioner Glines, would be $107,182 for the engineering report.
107,282.
Yes, sir. Mayor, yes, sir. Mr. Glines, 107,182 and 88 cents is what I have on the new requisition that was submitted.
Okay, thank you for those changes. Do we have any discussion? Okay, you have a motion.
I guess my last question is, what's the total amount? Am I making my motion right now for 98,000?
Mayor Pro Tem, I would ask that the motion be for the 98,900 plus applicable gross receipt tax. That way we're not tied to the amount, but the contract from Bohannon Houston is exactly that amount.
I move to approve the purchase requisition to Bohannon Houston in the amount of 98,900 plus actual gross receipt tax for engineering services and NMFA grant planning.
Do I have a second? Second.
Honorable Leslie Mitchell.
Aye.
Honorable Inga Hopner.
Aye.
Honorable Charles Glenn.
Aye.
Aye. Carries. Now let's
Thank you,
move on to
Commissioner
order.
Mayor. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Item 1, discussion action, resolution number 15, 2627, authorizing NMFA Colonias Infrastructure Project Fund Loan Grant Agreement CIF 7113 for Marie Street improvements. Alvarez.
Thank you, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners. So this is just the formal financing approval for the Marie Street project through the Colonias Fund that the city was awarded. We received a grant, 90% grant and 10% loan, right around $1.3 million, and we'll have a cash match of $136,000. So that'll give us a total project of about $1.5 million. And this approval of this resolution and the grant agreement loan documents will allow us to execute those and then proceed with NMFA for the closing.
Thank you. Questions?
Looking forward to it.
Excited. I'm ready.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve resolution 15, 2627, authorizing execution and delivery of the NMFA Colonias Infrastructure Project Fund Loan Grant Agreement in a total of $1,363,637 for Marie Street improvement.
A second.
Honorable Inga Hopner.
Aye.
Honorable Charles Glenn.
Aye.
Honorable Rob Pastor.
Aye.
Honorable Leslie.
Aye.
G2, discussion action resolution number 16, 2627, authorizing city staff to submit an application to Water Trust Board for design services for a water system improvement project. Alvarez.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Commissioner. This was brought to you previously under the notice of intent, and we updated you that we were going to be applying for some funding that became available through Water Trust Board for design purposes only. So this is just part of that application process. We have to submit a resolution where you guys are authorizing us to apply. We're going to be applying for approximately $2.3 million for design only. I sat in on their training for the application process since design funds are kind of a new process this year. You'll be happy to find out they are giving 100% grant. There is no loan, there is no cash match associated on the design portion. If we submit our application and we are awarded the $2.3 million in design, we will be designing the well 2 improvements, a possible new well at the north end of town, approximately 31,000 linear feet of water line, which will provide us with approximately a $25 million shovel-ready water project. With that, it's down for any questions.
Well, one question on the shovel-ready project, is that money that we already have available to throw at that, or is it money we're gonna have to get?
We'll be applying. So our hope with this is if we are awarded the entire amount, we have had some discussions with our engineer. Water Trust Board is going to be opening their regular cycle here fairly soon. It sounds like we'd have to have some design completed by April. Obviously, he can't design $2.3 million. However, he does feel like he could potentially at least get the well portion designed. So we might go through this cycle right away and ask for maybe around $4 or $5 million to do the wells while he completes the design on the remaining amount. And then we could apply for funding at Colonius or Water Trust Board or HUD, USDA, our legislators, because we'll have shovel ready. So it'll open us up. And then depending on the funding source we go through, if there is a loan and a cash match required, we do have our FY24 HUD funds that can be used to cover the loan and cash match. So the hope is to have 100% funded project with no out-of-pocket loan.
Wonderful.
You won't see this availability very often. We're, I think, in a window of opportunity here with the state that we can make these applications, and I'm glad that we're moving forward with that and being aggressive in getting that done. Remember, we have $120 million worth of work to be done in this community. This is the next step. We've got the first 3 or 4 projects scheduled. This is the next one that we probably won't see in the ground for 2 or 3 years, but we have the applications now.
And Mayor, if I could add, just to go backwards on a previous item you guys approved, we're eligible to apply for these design funds because the commission approved us on an application in the past to do an entire water municipal PER.
Right.
And because we have that planning document, that puts us eligible for design funds. Had we not had that planning document, we couldn't apply for this. So by approving us to go through with the affluent water PER, that's going to put us in a position to be able to start applying for some funds that are out there for affluent water use. So it's I guess the frustration I know sometimes that whether it be commission or the public have is we pay all this money out for planning documents, but this is a good example of why we need it.
Yep. Got it. Thank you. All right. Do we have any further discussion? Oh, okay. I'll entertain a motion.
With that, I'll make a motion to approve resolution 16, 2627, authorizing staff to submit an application to the Water Trust Board for water system design service.
I second.
Honorable Dustin Mitchell.
Aye.
Honorable Igor Hoffman.
Aye.
Honorable Ron Franco.
Aye.
Honorable Charles Williams.
Hi,
All right. Hearings. Item G3, discussion action resolution number 17, 2627, adopting guidelines for the city of Fruita Consequences Lodgers Tax Grant Program. Whitehead. Again.
Mayor Pro Tem, members of the commission, we might partner a little bit on this with the clerk. As you know, Angela's been managing, not just as the clerk, but she's been managing the lodgers tax program since I I came on board, and we've kind of worked through some not necessarily issues, just understanding and getting our education up. And one of the things I wanted to develop was kind of a really good understanding of lodger's tax, so that we could kind of come from a set of principles. For a long time, the resolutions indicated that 60% of your money had to go to this and 40% had to go to that. And mathematically, it kind of worked out, but it's really not what the statute and the law requires. It requires that you use the formula to break down what your revenue is, and you have to set a certain aside just for promotion. And otherwise, everything else can be used for all the other requirements of lodger's tax. If you wanted to use it all for promotion, it's entirely up to the board and those kind of things. But to be compliant with the law, to go through a proper audit, you just have to follow the formula. So what we did is we took the time to develop this book that you see, which really spells out. So I broke down each regulation from the state regulation book, and then I mirrored it to what our current ordinance says, so that anybody looking at the book can see this is what the state requires, this is what our ordinance requires. So you could see the law and apply the law. The second piece in the handbook was then to come up with an operating manual that then Angela or whoever chooses that we need in the future to run the lodger's tax could understand, how they apply those principles of law and regulation. And then the third piece of the book would talk about then how the board markets and what their marketing plan was. We did have a little issue when I came on board about the lodger's tax logo being the official city logo. And so we really kind of cleaned that up to say lodger's taxes can adopt a logo. And in this particular case, that's the logo they want to adopt. And it's not relevant to say that it's the official city's logo for lodger's tax. So what you have before you is a really what we would call an encompassing operating manual for lodger's tax. In this particular case, it clearly sets out the guidelines that not the clerk, Angela, would be operating under, as she's going to continue to manage that. And then it sets forth a new resolution. So with that, we do have a change that we'd want to make in the resolution, a mathematical or item. I would bring that up second. So I would stand for any questions at this point, and we'll certainly let Angela stand for questions or any presentation that she might have over the handbook.
The only other thing I would like to add is there was a recommendation from one of our members from the Lodgers Tax Board that anytime somebody brings an application for funding, like if they're gonna do like a concert, that the bands that are gonna play in the concert, they have to do their own marketing. And so we did add that to the guidelines as well. And I really think this is gonna be helpful for not only for us, but for our applicants. They could have all of our guidelines that we go by. They'll know their deadlines. It's to have our statutes in there. So I really recommend this, and I think it's going to be extremely helpful for everybody.
The only concern I have with that is on Fiesta, we like to have a branded type of promotion of the bands. So they have our Fiesta logo and blah, 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 blah. But it would be like, we would probably take it on ourselves to do our own kind of promotion, but I like having the fact that they have to do theirs as well.
Yeah, and then even on like going on the logo thing too, if you did want to use your own logo on there, it has to say paid for by city lodgers tax on there somewhere. So it could be either or. So if you want to do your own.
So it used to be, we had to write on everything that we did with lodgers tax, paid for in part by True the Consequences lodgers tax. Then they adopted that logo. And then as long as you put the logo on there, that's the same thing as saying paid for in part by lodgers.
So you can do either or. So if you don't want to put the logo on there, since you have your own Fiesta branding, then it just has to say paid for by Jersey Lodgers tax.
Well, it's just easier for us to include that logo and everything, and then that covers it. So.
Mayor, I would just support the clerk. Again, it was my understanding in my presentation. I serve on another board. I serve on the workforce board. And one of the audit findings we had 10 years ago was from the Department of Labor, where in all of our workforce marketing items, we were not putting funded in part by the Department of Labor. And they cited a federal regulation that required that we did that. That was a finding and we've sent. So in my mind, I felt like, again, the lodger's tax would be following, there would be some statute. I did look because the board requested that. where it doesn't necessarily require it. And so we came to the accommodation that one or the other would be acceptable, but somewhere you just need to pay some notification to that particular thing. And then part two with the ban. So, that's a little different in application than you guys have done before, and that they've gone where entertainment can be part of the funding, right? Because it does say, you can use the money for an event. And so I expand that in my thinking to say that, again, the bands could be included. But what the board came up with in their conversation, I thought was really good. Under the Levitt Group, they can only bring bands in under that grant that have an online presence and can present what their online presence is. And I thought that, that's the right thing. So it's not that they necessarily market, but you want a band that can at least say, I'm playing in Tier C, and they've got 2,000 followers. If that's who they are, then they would be eligible then to be paid for. But if, again, I'll pick on Commissioner Glines, if the two of us put a band together and we said, hey, we want to go play, and we applied, we wouldn't, because we would, you wouldn't want to just be putting it into the entertainment. So they have to be able to market themselves, right? And so we think that's important. That was really good on the board, and they came up with some other changes. So Angela and the staff did a good job getting, board input. This has been out for about 3 months, I think, going back and forth on recommends. And so again, Angela's recommendation is that you approve.
Please.
When I go through it, really, it's the handbook is mostly a compilation of state statute, our city code, and our operating procedures. So I didn't really see any legal issues. If anybody have any questions for me,
That's good.
okay. I don't know if anything we need to talk about. Okay.
Very clear.
So when we approve it, we just want to make that
Oh.
change to the,
Yeah, you do it, but
you have it written down.
so under the current resolution, the commission can authorize, because lodgers tax funds can be used for art purposes and it can be used for administration. And we want those two items to remain financially the same. So the resolution says of the available funds, 1% shall be eligible for administration, and that needs to be 10%. And then 1% shall be allocated to the arts. That is correct. And then 1% shall be used for the civic center. That needs to be removed. So technically we can use 10% of the lodger's tax, which could be civic center or the lodger's tax for admin. And then we would only allocate 1% to the arts.
I would make a motion with those changes to approve the resolution and the guidelines for the lodgers tax. Take the handbook.
I'll second that motion.
Honorable Destiny Mitchell.
Aye.
Honorable Hoffman.
Aye.
Honorable Saskill.
Hey,
Thank you.
Carried.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Prior to adjournment, I'd like to have a motion to move into executive session, which is item 1, purchase acquisition of disposal of real property from Scantrell Dam easement acquisition pursuant to 10-15-1 H8.
I will make that motion.
I second. Motion and a second.
Honorable Eagle Hoffman.
Aye.
Honorable Saskill.
hi.
Honorable Lawler.
Aye.
Honorable Destiny.
Aye.
Right, our agenda has been posted. We're going to adjourn.